told me to set that parking brake and let myself unwind. Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you my stories.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming over.
My privilege.
Yeah, we were just saying, like, Jordan B. Peterson is going to come on here.
I know. I was a fan of his before everybody else found out. But he had this series on a podcast or lectures called Maps of Meaning, and I was always fascinated by trying to bring together psychology and anthropology and sort of maybe spiritual stuff. And that was his thing, and that wasn't the way necessarily I would have done it. But I loved his thinking, and I loved the way he did things. And all of a sudden, this political thing happened around pronouns.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's out there. So I follow all his stuff. In fact, you ought to listen to right now. There's a debate up. Before you talk to him, you need to listen to the debate. Write this down,
yeah.
It's called the Hmong debates or something.
Oh, wait, I heard about it.
Yeah, you got to listen to it before you talk to him, because it was like very frustrating to hear people not argument, not have argument, but just have all these shit throwing,
right?
A lot of shit slinging, and he kept trying to have an argument, and they wouldn't like have a discussion,
right?
That's very disturbing to me.
Well, discussion's kind of gone a little bit of the wayside.
It's gone. That really bothers me. I was when I listened to that, I was just disturbed all weekend that the four of them just could not have a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know how we move forward without dialectic, without conversation.
Yeah, especially it's like, and people will just take one sentence or one moment, and that's everything. And it's like, it's just what goes out on like social media kind of ruins so many things like that, because especially Twitter, which is like
the worst.
The only two people on it are Roseanne and I think people who don't have jobs and Donald Trump. The only people still on Twitter.
That's right. But it still has this. It's a wind that blows though. Still, right? If things start going, they'll mob you there.
And the news grabs from that. The news acts like anything can be used to stir the pot.
Stir the pot. Prove you're a bad person.
Yes,
that's all. And I've been saying to people for a while. I wanted to put a chapter in my book on narcissism about pre-revolutionary France, because I thought we were heading towards something like that. And now that we're here, I mean, they started chopping off people's heads, and we're doing the same thing.
Yeah,
we're making people lose their jobs, their livelihood, and we don't stop until there's blood. We don't even notice we're doing it anymore.
Right, and there's not even real blood now. It's just hypothetical. I mean,
people are really suffering. People's livelihoods are being taken away.
People's livelihoods are really suffering, but it's happening in more of like a people's lives are really suffering. We're just not taking off their actual head.
Right. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. There's not actual physical violence.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, the only time they actually did that was really in that period in French history. But the Soviets, they would make people lose their jobs. McCarthyism, lose your job. I mean, we've done it before.
Well, what's interesting is now it's like you don't lose your head.
You lose your job.
But you're still, at least then when you lost your head, it was
done. All over.
Now
you are better off now. And this is not hyperbole. You're better off now being accused of manslaughter than being accused of sexism, racism, Me Too, whatever. Manslaughter, you have your day in court.
Yeah.
You have a day in court. I mean,
there needs to be proof.
You're presumed innocent.
Yep.
You can keep working.
Yep.
Even if you get found guilty, you still go back to work.
Yeah.
After you do your thing. You not banished for life.
Yeah.
Not banished. We're a horrible person banished.
We're banishing people.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. But at least back in the day, you lost your head and you didn't have to feel it anymore.
That's right.
Now it's like you still have your fucking head.
Theo's actually asking to bring out the guillotine. He's like, they think there's more humane. We bring the guillotines out.
I do.
Oh, all right.
I really do, because now it's like you have to sit there and feel all of the things.
The misery.
Yes. Yeah. You just have to. It's like, hey, feel the pain now instead of just taking off your head.
Why people get off on that, I don't understand it. It's just, and although even though I predicted it and sort of understood how the narcissism was going to get acted out through envy and mob action and lack of empathy and all the stuff that we're seeing, now that we're in it, I'm weirdly confused by it.
Wow. Yeah. So, like, in what way? So, if you kind of saw it coming, but now that you're in it, you didn't feel like it was going to be this intense. Maybe you didn't feel like it would come to fruition. Now you don't see what's next, and that's
I don't see it's spooky. I don't see what's next. I feel like I'm in a vortex, so I can't step outside it and evaluate it. And the people that are acting out on other people, it's so bizarre to me to see it happening. I don't understand what they're getting out of it.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. Right. What do you get from making people suffer?
And you almost leave the next day and forget about it.
Yes, that's the whole thing. They're just off your head. Done.
Yeah. Lunch.
And there's another part of it. Lunch. And there's another part of it too, where this sort of just so warrior, like, got to get those families back together. Oh, I feel so much better now. It's like, yeah, no kidding. No kidding, we can get those families back together.
Yeah.
These are difficult problems. But man, if you say you got to get those families together, you're good. You're good.
If you get those families together?
The immigrant families.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, they're separating. Or is that what they're doing? They say, well,
they're separating the kids.
It's also
it's horrible. But yes, of course it's horrible.
Right.
You don't have to declare it to. I don't need to hear
all I need
you
is one article. I just need one thing to say this is what's happening.
An
It's
image.
very
Just I
unfortunate.
got it. It is bad. I don't need you declaring it and then putting your hands on your hips, going, see, aren't I a good person?
Yeah, I'm the Amelia Earhart of immigrants now. It's what do we? It's almost like that's become a little bit of like it's like a morphine drip a little bit that once you become one of those kind of social justice warriors or something where you have to get that next one. Yeah. What's the next one? Because I'm sure they're just jumping from issue to issue.
You're right.
There's people just jumping from issue to issue.
It's a constant need.
So mentally, what's going on with somebody who's doing that?
Well, I think fundamentally, I mean, look, there's some truth to it, right?
Right.
There's things that need to change, and there's some good things about it. It's the excesses that I'm talking about, and the well, just the excesses. That's all.
But somebody who goes from one to the next, they're like, for day to day, and they're getting
high for one thing off it. Yes. It's like a drug, anything else. But it's also it's an acting out of the most. This is what I predicted, so I'm going to say it's the same thing that I predicted, which is it's an acting out of the most sinful emotion that humans have. Throughout history, it's always been the absolute most, I'm sure it's been condemned by every religion, which is envy. It's like, that guy's got something, I got to bring him down to my side.
Wow.
I got to take him down. Taking down people is somehow some sort of satisfaction. It's, I got it. Took them down. They're awful.
I got them.
I'm good. Or at least really what's in it is I'm bad. I just got to bring him to where I am.
So
good.
How do we
combat this? I don't know.
What's kind of next? I start to wonder.
I don't know.
Or how do we so say there's somebody, and a lot of these people are like public figures that people want to looking to bring down, that sort of thing.
Sure. Anybody that's in the crosshairs, anybody that's out in my field of vision, get them.
Now, say someone who is like becoming a celebrity or looking into, wants to get into, wants to get into the public eye. How do they not safeguard themselves, but how do they live? Like, what kind of path do they live now?
I talked to somebody yesterday about this very issue, and I just said, you're gonna have to get used to it. She goes, how do you get used to it? How do you tolerate it? I go, you gotta go. If you're not in the middle of a shitstorm regularly, you don't exist.
Wow. If
you're going to be a public figure.
Yeah.
Don't you get in shitstorms once in a while?
Yeah, some, I guess, but not.
They don't bother you. They bother me because I'm so attached to my profession.
And your work, your everything is you have a lot going on because your education, all of that is very tied into that.
It's tied into my identity. When you're a physician, it's like who you are. You're a doctor. It's what you do, and I've always done. And when I get attacked, all that gets attacked with it, and I just hate it.
Yeah, you're the guy that comes in the room to help.
Especially when you're just trying to do good. It's such a weird twist on what you're trying to do.
It's so wild.
And by the same token, I'm the type of person, I like to change my mind. I like it. I welcome it. Expand, change, bring it. So you don't have to destroy me. You can just instruct me.
Right.
I'll happily change. I'm not going to push back unless it's patently wrong. But
I don't have to be right. I don't feel like I have to be right.
No.
In fact,
I don't know how to be right. Because look, as a scientist, you don't know anything. You just know you just can the best you can do is come up with a model that predicts the future. You got that, you're good.
Yeah.
But truth, no.
Yeah, and everybody, it's people like now, they know.
Well, they know what's right and what's wrong, what's good for people and bad for people. No, we're much more complicated than that. Particularly when it comes to little giant sweeping trends like politics and history.
Yeah,
I mean, really horrible situations have ended up good. Really good situations have turned out bad.
Right.
Great people have been terrible leaders. It's just I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I mean, I encourage everybody to have feelings and opinions and try to do what's good, but to be so sanctimonious about it and so self-righteous, that's hubris. That's hubristic. I mean, Sophocles wrote tragedies about hubris.
And hubris is that we want to...
And the hubris is the belief that I know best, period, and there's no alternative, and that's that. Just read your Sophocles, everybody. It doesn't turn out well.
Yeah. Get a hit on some Sophocles. Yeah, it's alarming these days. It's super alarming, man. It's a little bit scary. It almost makes me a lot of times like I feel like authenticity is going to become a lot more valued.
I agree with that. I think it has become so. I apologize. I'm putting eye drops.
No worries.
I had a stupid eye procedure done that's made my eyes a mess.
Really?
Yep. Dry eye syndrome.
We're just going to put this part in where he just looks like he's crying.
That's good. You can do that.
And I'm so sorry. I know Adam. It's tough working with Adam.
It is impossible. You don't even know, man.
No, you guys, dude, I love going in there because it's so funny because you know stuff. Adam doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, well, he does. He does.
He does. He's got a gut and a compass that's exquisite.
Right.
Yeah,
but it's like he has more hubris in it, I think.
He does have he is hubristic, but funny. His hubris is open to dialogue.
Right.
I would say. Always.
Yeah, I'll agree to that too. And it always has
it may be hard to make that dialogue, to engage in that dialogue, but he is open to it if you know how to do it.
And he always has a little tongue in cheek.
Yes, he's trying to be funny.
And in the end, yes, he loves to be funny.
Yeah.
And that's always an okay place when somebody in the end, and I think that's one thing that comedians have that is probably totally different than in your world, is like you have an actual like degree on the wall that like goes along with what you're talking about, whereas we just have like this kind of life degree, and so it's
yeah, but we look to comedians and performers to give us insight into our lives that we might miss otherwise. Not intellectual insight, but some sort of take, some sort of spin, some sort of appreciation or experience that makes us. That's why we laugh. It rings true. And I never thought of it that way. That's funny.
What happens when people laugh? I was talking.
It's so complicated.
Is it really? Because I just this is what I remember laying in bed with a girl one day in the morning. This is years ago, and like I'd been drinking the night before, and sometimes in the morning, that's when it would be the most funny. When I just slept for 3 hours and I woke up and I was just joking. I'd come up with the funniest stuff I felt.
You'd vomit and just be hysterical. It's so funny.
Look at this Karl Marx vomiting. Is Karl Marx a comedian?
By the way, you just had Duncan Trussell. I just did Drunk History with him.
Dude, he's fascinating.
He's the best. He and I are good friends.
Dude,
talk about the Odd Couple, right?
Oh my God,
he was expecting to do battle with me. We became instant friends.
I refer to him as the Jimmy Buffett of, what did I call him?
Of LSD.
Yeah, that's even better.
Of plant hallucinogens.
Yeah, he's like the Jimmy Buffett of plant hallucinogens. I'm like, you look like you would be the hostess or the manager at a Margaritaville.
Wait till you see this Drunk History. And I did the Derek Waters piece. So I sat with him and interviewed him. You know what Derek Waters does in Drunk History? You don't watch Drunk History?
I don't watch Drunk History.
Oh, Duncan does the best Drunk Histories. Show him afterwards. Show him the Tesla Drunk History. Okay. You'll die.
Yeah.
You will die.
People love him. But no, it was fascinating, man. I had a great talk, and I just felt better after chatting with him. And we were talking about like how with things becoming so automated, right?
Yeah.
And headed in that direction.
Well, he thinks there's going to be a singularity.
Yes.
Which I laugh at him for.
He does.
Yeah, I know. He really thinks so.
But do you think that as we become, in some ways it seems more not broadening our minds, at the same time, this is kind of a birth for a revolution? Do you feel like that in a way?
Yeah, ask that a different way. I'm not sure I got it.
Okay, so as we all become a little bit more like lemmings,
yes,
like with automation and stuff like that, how do we not become that in our
if we're not careful, if we don't beef up our education, you're right. We could be robots essentially. We could be led into things we shouldn't be led into. Alexis de Tocqueville wrote a book called On Democracy in 1826, and he studied Americans, and he was concerned about that, the nanny state and the excessive lawyers, and he just predicted all this stuff. He predicted that U.S. and Russia would be the great superpowers. Crazy, wow. Bright guy. And he did an analysis of democracy in America, and he worried that we'd become too dependent on the state and not think for ourselves. He felt education was a key, important part of that not happening, and something he called practice of democracy, which none of us do.
Yeah. Is it? Do you think that it's still possible to do that here?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I wish yeah, I do. Because people are, even though our education system fails a lot of people aren't dumb. And people can really learn and want to learn and stuff. And they kind of do, if you think about it.
Right.
I mean, there's so much available now. The problem is, my fear is that they'll mistake information for knowledge. That's what I'm seeing a lot of. You've heard of something I've been talking a little bit about lately, about something called the Dunning-Kruger effect? Dunning-Kruger effect is...
It sounds like a finishing move in the WWE. I will say that, though. Yeah.
Dunning-Kruger movement. Dunning-Kruger effect is a psychological principle that accounts for how people can get up, say, on American Idol and sing like crap and say, hey, wasn't that great? It's literally when you don't have enough experience and knowledge, you can't assess where you are cognitively. And so because people think just because they're reading information, they have knowledge,
Right.
they assess themselves as being knowledgeable, as opposed to acquiring the knowledge, using the knowledge, writing about it, expressing it to other people. That's what it takes, and then building on it, learning other concepts.
Right.
They just read it, go, oh yeah, here it is. It's like a vocabulary
There it
issue.
is, yeah.
It's like learning the definition of a word rather than the process and the
Like here's the 11th grade.
exactly.
Yeah, right here. I just opened up the page.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's definitely,
A lot of Dunning-Kruger stuff out there right now.
it's kind of scary. I wanted to come up with a chart that the food is better in cities where you're more likely to get murdered. And I don't know what that chart is, like what that effect is.
New Orleans on top.
New Orleans, Chicago,
Chicago,
Baltimore.
Baltimore 3. Food good, murder likely.
Bro, oysters in a
You know, I don't know what that is.
But that
Seems to hold true.
It seems to hold true.
Yeah.
So it seemed like it'd be a good chart. So one thing I was thinking about, like, and having you come in, I was like, what kind of like, what like really do you feel like kind of spooks you a little bit? Like, what kind of scares you? Because you seem to, you enjoy life, you go at it. Like you have an enthusiasm every time you're around. You've had some neat successes in your life and gotten to do a lot of cool stuff. Like, is there anything that kind of like what kind of spooks you a little bit? Like, what kind of makes you a little bit spooked?
It depends what you mean by spooked. I have an anxiety disorder, right?
Right.
So I tend towards panic, which is really fun.
Right.
And so I worry about a lot of stuff. But it doesn't bother me. I've had enough therapy that doesn't trouble me anymore. But I tend towards being anxious. I worry about my kids like crazy. So that does that kind of spook? You mean?
Yeah, I guess.
Or you
Yeah,
mean
like
what I worry for
makes
the
you
future.
feel uncomfortable?
That makes me uncomfortable. I always worry they're going to be okay. They're going to. That's like, and I'm at a stage of life now where I want to make sure of it. Make positive about
Really?
it before I check out. I make sure they're good, and that's hard.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like, what's hard about it? Like the fact that you
Try to get financially set so they could have something when I'm gone, and then try to get them educationally so they have some skill set where they could really do something with it if they want to. It's up to them.
Right.
But it's a interesting. The millennials are an interesting group.
Yeah.
And people in their 20s are like, I couldn't have raised a lizard in my 20s. You know what I
Right.
mean? I couldn't have done anything. I was useless.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
now a lot of
so-
young people seem so empowered, but a lot of the empowerment seems to not come from knowledge. It comes from
The phone, yeah.
or from like you're saying, just like, oh, I just said I'm empowered.
Yeah, and I've got X number of followers, and I've got it's a false thing.
But
So
is
that's
it
bothers
what we
me.
are now? Is it that
Yeah, I mean, it's what I always refrain from being old fogey.
Right.
Like, oh, those kids, or this thing's going to ruin us. I remember when I was a kid, the television was going to ruin everybody, and the radio was going to ruin everybody. In 1850, the novel was going to ruin everybody.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
gonna ruin-
matches. I remember when
Matches
matches
was going to ruin everybody.
The
So-
diorama almost fucking sunk a nation. I remember people just so on. Yeah.
Yeah, so just looking at history, I know that whatever the technology is, everybody always predicts it's the end of youth. This particular generation is going to succumb to whatever this is. So none have.
But this feels like a bit of more of a conundrum. Do you feel like for some reason?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't. I just feel like it's another thing, and I'm observing it, and it will have benefit and will have liability.
You seem a little bit like the kind of guy to me, and I'm just being super judgmental here.
Good.
But also, like, I think if
Insult me, Theo.
I
Come
think-
on, you normally do.
I think if people but only because it's fun to do it with Adam. Because the truth is, I'm probably on your side.
I probably.
But it's more fun if Adam.
Get Adam attacking me.
Oh, yeah,
Everyone
that's
loves when Adam attacks me. Fantastic. Jeez.
How do you look into the stuff? I know you've looked into some of the stuff to try and live longer, live forever.
No.
Really?
Absolutely not.
You're not on a freezer list somewhere?
No, I'm actually sort of incensed by people that insist on that. That is the most narcissistic, grandiose POS I know of. Life
Really?
is an arc. Aging is part of it. We are biological. We get old and we die. And to insist that my carcass has priority over all the other generations, are you kidding me? That's a no.
Wow.
Absolutely not. And the idea of I'm going to live to 130, I take care of 90-year-olds all the time.
Yeah.
40 years like that, you do not want it, particularly if you're a male.
It's bad.
Trust me, you don't want it.
Really, what happens?
And then you can't pee, you can't walk, you can't see, you can't hear. It's horrible. You have pain all the time from your joints.
Ugh.
It you know.
Seems like hide and go seek, kind of just like with pain.
Yeah, and so then people push back with, oh no, 90's going to be like the new 60. All right, there may be some of that, but there is a finite thing going on here, and biology is unforgiving. If you adjust one place, you're going to get a reaction somewhere else.
Oh, really?
So,
it's a lot of karma there.
So if you're going to, lengthen your telomeres or whatever it is, I just know something's going to go wrong somewhere else. Just the way biology is.
So you're
There's
saying
no free lunch with Mother Nature.
There isn't. Wow. So when people get on these, because you think about these things, these HGHs, these TRT.
Yeah, well, you can be. They're good in terms of looking and feeling good the longest you possibly can. I'm all for that. If I didn't have prostate cancer, I would do all that stuff. I'm sure of it because it really. I'm convinced it's a little bit good.
Right.
But I'm not because
if you got
other things going on.
If you got in safe enough, would you be able to do it? You think?
Well, I announced to my surgeon when to make myself feel better. I told him, okay, when I'm 5 years out, you're putting me on testosterone,
Cool.
and he laughed at me. I'm 5 years out in 3 weeks.
Wow.
No, 2 weeks, and so, but I'm a little scared to do it. So,
are you?
Yeah.
Scared because it could just make the cancer just come back really fast? Or?
Yeah, that's the concern. It'll feed it.
Yeah. Do you feel like cancer is something that we ever eradicate, or is just something that that's just part of?
No, cancer will be. Yeah, we will. We'll get most of it. It'll be, or those of it that of which we don't get will be kind of like HIV. Some of the advanced. If I were back in training again now, I'd be an oncologist. The stuff's happening is fascinating. It's happening fast, and it's cool biology.
And when you say oncology, what does that mean?
Cancer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the stuff that we're doing with the immune modulation stuff. It's just DNA. Oh my God, it's fantastic.
Is it?
Yeah.
So that sounds like something that you'll miss whenever you leave the earth. Do you feel like you'll miss some of that?
Yeah, that's actually one of the things when I think about death and dying for myself. I think about I want to see how that turns out. I want to see where that goes.
Yeah.
So.
But that's kind of nice. It shows that you have an affinity for life.
Yeah, I do, and I don't feel. Again, it's hubris for me to say my place in the chain should persist or take priority over the young people coming up.
Right. Well, now that
maybe
seems
it's having kids that makes you not feel that way. I don't know.
But now, then, I would worry that, or I wonder, did celebrity ever at certain points in your life affect that? Because it's such a different world to go from a world of, I think, I want to help people, and then be in, and not that you really, celebrity with you kind of, merged I remember talking about this one time that you could help people, and your other people in your group or whatever were like, this is crazy. You're doing the radio, and it became like this.
Oh, my peers, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. No, they were very judgmental.
Yeah.
Back then, but now there are always some that were sort of cheering me on, and they're mostly that way now.
And the ability to help people overall, I think that's
the goal. I mean,
why
why do this if we're not going to make a difference? And so celebrity to me is fun. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Is that true? I feel like it would be so hard.
Because I've gone through ups and downs. I've been doing this long enough. I had where people know who I am, people don't know who I am. One's more fun, but neither matters.
Right. So it didn't. But did that ever affect the way that you felt like, I want to live forever or anything like that, like the ego?
Oh no! Oh my God, no.
Because I worry about my own ego. One of my biggest fears is my ego. That's so scary. It's a scary thing.
Well, I will just tell you that it can lead you astray.
Yeah.
Obviously, right? You get hubristic, right? And you move away from happiness, even though you think you're moving towards it.
Wow.
So
and that's a proven thing, you think?
Well, let me finish that thought.
Go on.
No. Yeah, how dare you, Theo? My God. You see, it's your ego again. It is certainly a proven thing that something called eudaimonic happiness as opposed to pleasure. Eudaimonic happiness is like feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right? Eudaimonic happiness is in the zone of gratitude and humility. Always.
Yeah.
Gratitude, humility, service. That's where eudaimonia is. The other stuff is like fun. It's good, and it's get high from it, and blah blah blah. I'm not gonna say it's not cool, but it's not. It's you need to do it again and again and again to be okay.
It's like a match, kind of. Yeah. Yeah, I worry about that, man. I just worry so much about. I don't worry a ton about it, but I'm just.
If you stay grateful, that's a good place to start.
Yeah,
it is, because if you like whatever it is your ego's feeding off of, stay grateful for having the chance to do it. See if that doesn't calm it down a little bit.
Yeah, I try and make a gratitude list almost every morning, and I usually do it pretty good.
Good.
And that kind of puts me in place of just things to be grateful for. There's so much, man.
It's true, right?
Oh, it's crazy.
And nobody does that anymore. Nobody sits and just, or they do it in a very superficial way and they really feel it.
Yeah. I'll read through it a couple times until I make sure it's really resonating.
Yeah, you've got to feel grateful. You really do, because just start from, we live in a great country at a great time.
Yeah.
Even these things that we're complaining about, these phones, I'm holding one. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's great and exciting. We saw it happen,
Yeah.
I always wondered when I was growing up, I was thinking.
Yeah, what did you think it was going to be? Tell me what you thought.
When I was growing up, I always go, God, what would it have been like to be around when the automobile came around? How weird we went from horse to automobile like overnight. This is the same thing.
Like your car still shits? That's crazy.
But this is the same thing.
100%.
I had a, word processor that was like bigger than it fit in this room.
And did you think it would get to that? I remember being young and I remember just wishing girls didn't like me, and I remember wishing there was like a portal where I could just look at other women.
Oh my God. Well, that's every male's thing.
Yeah, maybe it's every male. Maybe it's every male. Yeah.
Just looking. That's all I want to do is look.
Man, if I could just. And then now we have that.
Yeah.
Like we have a thing where we can look at whatever we want. Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to do to people, but we have it.
Oh, I think it's so scary. The biggest thing for me, and that I notice with our audience and people that call in, is just pornography. Just the inability to. I don't know if we're even genetically able to battle how powerful it is.
I agree with you, and I think we've grossly underestimated the. What is that dude's picture up there?
I was just. We don't have to acknowledge it. I was just showing Theo a relevant video question we have.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Well,
but is it pertaining to porn addiction?
Masturbation, and I think he mentions his porn's what made him fell off.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
What's up, Theo? Hope you're doing well. I'm Kai from Gold Coast, Australia.
Yeah, he is.
I wanted to talk to you about your struggle to not touch your little wang. Just because I've been having the same struggle, and last night I woke up from one of those sweet dreams and I touched my wang, and normally that's not too bad of a thing, but this is my 27th day in a row of not doing it.
I'm not doing it, so you
I'm
broke
gonna make it to 100, because previously I tried No Fap November, which is where you don't fap for all of November, which is something I think you should encourage amongst your viewers,
Fap?
and we should probably promote that.
We'll look it up.
But yeah, it's tough, man. It's hard. So just letting you know that I'm struggling with the fight as well, and keep going with it.
Gang, man,
Much
that's
love.
cool.
Well,
Yep.
I'm not so sure. It sounds like in a restaurant or something. Instead,
I mean, who knows where he was? He could have been outdoors. He could have been, who knows, looking at children at a park. You never know.
my
I hope
God.
not. I assume he wasn't. But yeah, but he did seem genuine in that I think he tried to not masturbate.
and so he must have identified that as a problem, which is why he was trying to do something about it. And the average person should be looking for balance, right? Not absolute abstinence. But if you have a problem where you're hurting yourself or you're affecting your livelihood or your relationships, well, yeah, you got to go through a withdrawal.
Yeah.
You ever heard of circle plans?
Oh yeah. Like the inner, middle, and outer.
Yeah.
Because I've gone to SAA, which is Sex Addicts Anonymous, before, and I think a lot of our original listeners knew this, but and yeah, they would have three circles, and I need to actually get back into it. I'm going to a therapist today, actually.
Good for you, man.
I just struggle. Yeah, I mean the masturbation thing. For me, when I would ejaculate, I would feel shame.
Yeah. And so men that have sexual addictions usually had emotional abuse in childhood, though you can have sexual abuse too, but emotional abuse is very common antecedent to sexual abuse in men or sexual compulsions of various type. And, we did that show, Sex Addiction. Remember that? And, and it was very interesting. Some of those people now are doing great. I mean, you should interview some of them.
That would be fascinating.
Jenny Ketchum, she's like a social worker now. And, she went back to, she just had a baby. I mean, she's amazing. And
does that inspire you? How do you feel when you see that kind of stuff?
I love it. What it does, it gets me to the next day. It's like, and sometimes what I really like is when they're ones that I had no hope for, because that always makes me humble. Like, there's hope for anybody.
Right.
This one, I never gave that one a chance, and now he's a psychologist. Like, anything's possible. So,
Yeah.
Although I still will kick, when I'm running a program, I will kick people out and I will be very tough on them. That's just what they need right then.
Right.
It doesn't mean they can't get well one day.
Right.
So, I can't enable them. I can't be part of the problem. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I would feel shame. I would just feel ashamed,
Yeah, and so if you the shame may be purely psychological. It doesn't mean because you have a sexual compulsion necessarily. It depends on what was giving you the shame. If there was something legitimately like you didn't want to do, you kept doing.
Right.
And if it was not just affecting your safety and your health and that kind of stuff, that's something to look into. And again, sex addiction, there has to be a period of abstinence. You go through some withdrawal. You put certain things in the inner circle that you cannot do. You put slippery stuff in the next circle, and you put healthy stuff in the outer circle.
Yeah.
And you work with a sponsor on moving things in and out of that.
Yeah.
Got to scrub your electronic media. And stuff.
Yeah. I think I really do. I just got to focus more. I've been doing better than I was like a couple years ago for sure. Good. And I find if I am doing something that I value, that I don't even think about acting out.
So you fill yourself, right? Is it an emptiness you're trying to? Is it like other addictions? You can feel an emptiness.
I just get antsy. Like I'll just get home and I'll just feel like maybe there was one time I noticed like a girl that I thought was cute. I didn't end up going to talk to her. I have no clue if she was 70 or 22.
Or
it was kind of far away.
7
yes,
kids.
I had no idea, but I put her on this weird little pedestal suddenly in my head.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to her at all. I left and went home, and then I just felt just worthless.
So the little pedestal is sort of a love addiction thing, right? Like you elevate somebody, make them perfect.
Yeah.
You got to have them. And
She could be horrible. She could have been a man. It wasn't even that clear how far away she was,
Perfect.
But I had
That's
put her in this
perfect.
special place, and I went home and I just felt defeated. And I was next thing you know, I'm looking at like escorts on the internet. I'm not getting them, but I'm like bartering with them.
Oh yeah.
Shit, the dude who's like bartering with an escort, but not even gonna buy it, like $40 less, And maybe,
But the problem with that is all of a sudden you're there.
Right.
It's
you're so close.
Yeah, it's like flirting with if you're an alcoholic and you go and drink near beer. Like now you're flirting.
Right. It's like having arms made of gas and playing with matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gas arms. So yeah, man, but I've never had a really healthy relationship. But I did when I was right after high school and shit. All that was okay sexually, and then something like kind of happened around college, and that's when it just got extremely more of an anxious-ridden environment for me.
Where'd you go to college?
Sex. I went to Louisiana State. I don't think it was anything real crazy. I can't remember anything specific.
Did you get any mood problems or anything during that time?
Yeah, I mean, at some point I got on. Yeah, I had a girlfriend that broke up with me, and it just like that shit kind of just broke my whole world open.
Okay,
Kind of.
and then did you act out on the heels of that?
I think after that I started having most of my problems were like I had like inadequacy problems. Like I felt like intimacy issues. Like the second I really started to care about somebody, I did not have.
Yeah.
I didn't
And so
feel
you
like I
sex-
sexually wanted to be with them.
And then the flip side is you have sex as a pseudo intimacy.
Oh, dude, I'll eat the ass of a Weimaraner down the hallway. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, as long as she's female. But I'm just saying, it's like...
Oh, yeah, because you wouldn't do anything else.
Yeah, but look,
you're not a male Weimaraner.
Look, yeah, three picnics with that Weimaraner, and I'm not even throwing the Frisbee. You know what I'm saying? Like, but there's just... And it's crazy, man. Sometimes I hope that maybe the best I can have in a relationship is just, it might have to be not super sexual, but somebody that I super care, just I connect.
We always tell people you got to look for butterflies, not lightning bolts. Right, the lightning bolt thing is your pathology,
right?
And it's there every time. It'll be who you're having lightning bolts for is somebody who also can't be intimate,
right?
And so it's a perfect match.
Right.
Boom, off you go.
There you go.
But it's good that you know that it's an intimacy issue because most people doing the stuff that you're talking about really can't see that. They can't see it. They can only see it as it's a behavior problem. I need to stop.
No, I notice when I'm lying with somebody that I care about that it's like there'll be a moment where I want to tell them that I care about them. And something in me sometimes will stop me, and I won't say it because I don't want to be. It's like a vulnerability thing.
It's too intense. Emotionally intense rather than physically intense.
Because I'm afraid that if I tell them that I care, that what?
Well, I imagine there's lots of different sort of versions of that. One is that then you're going to open, and then they're going to exploit, or you're going to get sucked into it. There's all kinds of fantasy people have,
right? Or they're going to believe me. I think. Maybe they're going to know that I actually care about them, and then I'm going to realize that I actually can care about somebody.
And then what? And then what happens?
Maybe just that's super.
So why is that super scary?
It's super scary because if they know that I care about them, maybe they'll care about me.
Okay, so we're moving in a good direction. Why is that a scary thing?
Because if they care about me, that I'm worth being cared for, I think.
And does that make your worthlessness that you feel sometimes
It makes a
more
worthlessness
intense?
that I've always thought
More
of or
intense?
held. No, it gives it less value.
Less value. So
it
it's
makes
still,
me think
so
that I was
that's-
wrong.
Okay, so this is all still good. What's so scary about this then?
Maybe just having like a different experience, like afraid that I would actually
So it's just
feel good.
lack of familiarity is the problem.
I think so.
Well, that's pretty easy to take care of.
But it's crazy. I can almost feel it in my chest how unfamiliar it would be to carry around inside of me that like I'm worth being cared about, or that I honestly cared about somebody.
Would you sabotage that ultimately, do you think? Because it is so uncomfortable?
I think in the past I have for sure, probably without even knowing it. And I think now I'm, I don't want to now. And so I'll like, do things like go to a therapist or not be afraid of bringing it up with my buddies or something like that. Or in that moment where like I know somebody needs me to care about them, instead of just like keeping to myself, like let them know I care, like just try and be a little more vulnerable,
Do you feel like you would, once it did sort of open up and go good, that you'd screw it up in some way?
Yeah, or maybe just that I wouldn't believe it,
Like distance yourself from it?
Yeah, like even when it goes good, that I would distance
Yeah.
myself, or
Yeah.
I mean, maybe,
It all just feels like a lot of familiarity stuff. Like you got to like just do it, practice it.
Yeah.
Be someone that has done that.
right.
Like,
Yeah, I think, it's so funny. That's what a different therapist has said. You could just, if you're having enemy stuff with your girlfriend, sometimes if you do something small, lay there and be naked together, or, try something little or take a shower together. Just little things that just bring you closer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's sounds easy, but I understand it's hard territory. But I always think about it when people are sort of just so in their emotional prescriptions. It's like no. It's like telling a deer that was just born to just walk.
Yeah.
It's like it's not done it before. It's like
Right.
it's like you can't do it. It's like trying, but its legs don't work, and it's that same feeling because that part of your brain has not been firing for a long time. And so
Yeah.
it's got to like fire up, integrate in, get some circuitry. How do we say it? That circuits that they essentially circuits that fire together, wire together. So if they keep firing, then the wire is up, and now you're good. Now you can walk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting, man. Navigating like caring and stuff like that and learning about that kind of stuff. I didn't know anything about it.
But caring.
Caring, yeah. And like caring about people or feeling cared for, those types of things.
Why'd that go wrong?
I don't know. I think my mother just never got cared for by her parents, so she had no idea what it was. Her dad, I remember, or I heard anyway, that he would like, he'd lock himself in his room and make him feed him through the door, like an inmate. He'd go in and out through the window.
So mental illness. That's mental illness.
And so I'm sure my mom just thought something was wrong with her, because her dad didn't,
How about your grandmother?
I'm not sure, but she was always kind of stern, so maybe she didn't talk to my mother about it, and maybe she also didn't stand up for herself, and so then my mom didn't really know. Maybe
Did she have you when she was young?
32. My dad was 70. My dad was that older guy. Remember?
Oh, right.
I think we talked about that before a little bit. But anyway, so I think now my mom, she doesn't get. Sometimes it seems like the feeling side of it. She gets the thought side. Like I'm up your parent and I love you.
Yeah.
But I don't think she gets sometimes that feeling of like knowing what it's like to probably ever have been really cared for. So. And that's just some of the saddest thing, man. The saddest thing to me sometimes is just like I'd give anything, like just for my mother to know that people care about her,
For your mom specifically.
Yeah, it's not like it's about me some. Like I know that I've worked on some of my
I
stuff.
feel like when you say that, you're like a little kid wishing for that.
Right.
Like a 7 or 8-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think. When I was a kid, probably I maybe saw something or just saw behaviors. I was like, wow. She doesn't know that anybody cares, or something. I don't know.
So your wish as a little kid is that would solve the problems, which is probably true. I mean, probably something to that.
Yeah. I think we all it's just like, it's crazy how much we all just want to be cared for,
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
It's so
simple.
simple.
It's pretty simple. And yet we make it very complicated and we mistreat each other like crazy. We are these monkey descendants, as Duncan Trussell always says. These weird monkey descendants that talk.
Do you think we start to get better about that kind of stuff, about our emotional knowledge and like stuff like that? Do you think
Through time?
Yeah.
There's a guy named Steven Pinker that writes about that.
Yeah.
And it suggests that we are less violent. We are better with time. Yeah. It suggests. It doesn't feel like it, but it seems like we are statistically.
Do you feel like we're at the end of time where like
No.
where
We're not at the end of time.
Wow. Thank you. You heard that?
We're at the end of time if an asteroid hits. I think humans are very resilient, though, otherwise.
Do you feel like we're in the early part of time?
Time is a funny thing to me. Time overwhelms me when I think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with time. My little brain can't handle it. Can't handle infinity. Can't handle space-time continuums. Can't do it. My brain can't do it. It can do it mathematically, but it just conceptually it can't do it. Well, so I don't even know what to say to that.
Well, when it gets out to the universe, what I don't like is that I think, the universe is constantly expanding. Like that seems like something a kid would say. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's growing and growing and growing.
Well, but it's just what the math tells us. The math does not lie. It's just math, and that's science. It's just a bunch of math equations to prove or show things, and that's it.
And you don't think that we'll get you don't think we could be wrong somewhere along the line?
Oh, of course. But there's some stuff that we are pretty self-evident. I think expanding universe, what it means, we have no idea.
Right.
Because it can't, because then you get into issues of infinity, and again, that's back to time, space, continuums that I don't get.
Do you feel like they're...
when you get into quantum physics and stuff, the things that that nature does on a quantum level, it's uncanny. This weird stuff.
Do you feel like we've started to master any of that stuff or be able to work with that in a way where we can use it to our advantage?
I mean, we're doing it, but I mean, there's just stuff about it that we don't...
It's perplexing?
It's just, your brain just goes, what's up? How's that? What? Yeah.
So that's cool. So even for people that learn about the ins and outs of it,
an easy one is, I forget what it's called, but if you look at the electron spin of one electron, the next one you examine will be the other way.
Wow.
Whether it's right next to that electron or on the other side of the universe.
No. How do they know?
Or it's the axis or something. They don't. It's something to do with the way I forget the explanation.
Yeah.
So I've heard it once and it made sense to me. That's all I know. But it was still uncanny, the whole phenomenon.
Do you believe, so to me, reincarnation seems like most probable because we've done it before.
Eternal recurrence seems more likely to me than reincarnation.
This keeps going over and over again?
This just repeats in some weird way. Yeah.
Right. And do you ever feel like that you maybe have been here before and you're like...
No. I don't feel it, but if you want to talk about uncanny things that I can't explain or can't prove one way or the other, I don't believe reincarnation doesn't make sense to me. But eternal recurrence, all right,
yeah, I've done it once.
Maybe infinity, maybe the multiverse is this, and we're doing things over and over and over and over again. And I don't know. Again, we're now in infinity zone where my brain can't do it.
Right.
This thing is so limited. This thing I'm pointing at my skull.
Right.
Your brain has a limited capacity. The best we can do is create instruments to help us examine and try to penetrate the world. And that's math and measuring devices, things like that.
Do you feel like we start to merge like math, like
back to the singularity,
machinery, and who we are, and
that's
our
what
science?
all the AI guys are very concerned about all this, right?
What do you think?
I think it will be benign. I do. The theory is that any really intelligent and dispassionate, non-emotional enterprise is going to look at humans and go, well, this is awful. We got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Just get rid of us.
Right.
And
we almost seem ridiculous.
We seem harmful and hurtful. And yes, we seem like, well, this is not going to end well. Let's get rid of them before something bad happens.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I feel that way too. I just wonder, what does it look like next? What is it?
I am an optimist.
You are
100%.
And you know what? In the end, it's the only choice, isn't it?
No, it's not the only choice. I think engagement is the only choice. You have to engage,
right?
Even if you're a pessimist. But certainly, if you're any kind of student of history, far worse things have turned out just fine,
right?
And so I just, makes me optimistic.
Do you think we ever get obviously we've gone from a time where things are very colonial to things are not that way so much anymore,
right?
And I feel like we're still you'll see a lot of people trying to say things that happen in history and put it on right now's terms and stuff, and it just seems ridiculous. It's so ridiculous because it's we weren't thinking the same way back then. Everything was different.
That's right. History doesn't exactly repeat. They're
right.
Humans have things about them that are proclivities, but it doesn't exactly repeat.
But yeah, sometimes that just freaks me out when people do that because it just seems so unfair.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, it's like say they have like I can think of an example in my own universe. They had like the statues in New Orleans where they took down the statues that were making people feel racist, right?
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, we would meet at the statue for Mardi Gras, black and white kids.
Yeah.
And everybody had a blast. Nobody ever said anything.
Yeah.
And I can also understand though how some emblems might seem racist.
Yeah.
And so let's those have had, that's gone. Let's not have those.
Right. How about not having them on public buildings?
Right.
Or creating sort of museum-like environments for them.
Right.
Because it's history. You don't want to do away with history.
Right.
You want to remember the history.
Right.
Those that do not recall will repeat.
Right.
So by all means, remember it.
Right. So I think and I think they could have done neater things like let's put like another black. Let's match it up with other, or let's change them out or something. But it just seemed wild how suddenly people were like, "Oh, this is so wrong," even though those people had never even been to this place or been around it or knew what the local texture was of it.
Yeah. It's complicated. I think of Savannah, Georgia when I think about that. Yeah. And I thought the only solution I come up with is that make Savannah a museum. Yeah. And with explanations of what really happened here, and you go to learn about it, and let these things persist as monuments of what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when does that end? Otherwise, it can always keep going as to where somebody was offended or hurt.
Correct. I mean, the Egyptians used to do that, right? They would carve the king that they didn't like out of the record. And now we don't know what the hell happened. Right. We could learn something if they hadn't done that. I mean, Akhenaten is, they're putting pieces together about him, but there's something really intense happened there, and we should know about it. Yeah. But because they erased it all, because they don't want to think about it anymore, the rest of history is deprived.
Yeah. We had in
what is this picture of?
Chris Farley.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is not a bad Trump. That is a Chris Farley.
I was wondering if it was a little Trumpy, but then
people think it's me a little bit with the nose,
yeah,
and then people think it's a bad Trump, and then it's
the hair is sort of Trumpy.
It's Chris Farley, yeah. We had Chris Ryan in recently, who's he wrote that book Sex at Dawn. It's really interesting. And it's just about how like monogamy and like people dealing with their marriages and stuff like that. Do you feel like that relationships? How is that going to become a thing of the past? Like
categorically, no.
Right.
There's one universal throughout history in all cultures that humans pair up in bonds.
Really?
It's a universal. And armies of mental health professionals spend infinity number of hours helping people manage two people.
Yeah.
You add a third, infinitely more complicated. I don't know how I would help people navigate that.
Right.
And you're worried about intimacy. Any added intimacy diminishes the primary one.
Right.
And intimacy is where lots of richness resides, and you have to invest in that for long periods of time, consistently, for it to bear fruit. And it's the healthiest environment for raising kids. I mean, it just is, and has always been throughout human history.
Right.
Whenever humans decide they figured it out, it's bad for people.
Right.
Whenever they're going to force something or tell you this is how it's done, I've intellectually figured it out now.
Yeah.
It's going to be different. No, we should be tolerant of different things, and there's reasons that people do different things, and not judge it. It's fine. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the sort of optimizing behaviors, it's words.
Yeah. Especially if over time that it's been, that's interesting to know. Because there starts to be this thing in the zeitgeist that it's like, oh, we don't need each other anymore.
All that, which is total bullshit. That's the most significant weakness we have in our culture right now, is lack of relating in community.
Yeah.
But all that's built on the disappointments of people's families of origin. It's all built on, hey, this doesn't work. It's too painful. I can't do that because my parents broke up, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were sick. Yeah, they broke up. It didn't work out. Now, there is a realistic piece of this, though. The reality piece is that we live so damn long that we really weren't designed to live this long.
Right.
We weren't designed to be married this long.
Right.
So there is a piece of it where you got to go, okay, well, there's some adjustment maybe needs to happen there. Married later, control over your reproductive health, freeze eggs, freeze fetuses, things like that. Maybe it's at that end we should be working on things and let people act out and do whatever they want to do until they're ready to pair bond.
Right. Do you think a lot of people have problems being honest with themselves, like when it comes to that kind of stuff?
They have no idea. about everything.
Yeah.
You'd be stunned how people cannot introspect.
Yeah.
It's really astonishing. Or have never been exposed to basic principles. When you started looking into your own stuff, did you know what you were getting into or think about?
No idea.
Yeah. That's average. That's an average person.
Literally like walking into a new gymnasium.
Yeah.
Like the first one when you walk into an empty gymnasium, like a huge basketball court, and you're like, what the fuck?
I know. What do I do here? People
in here, I'm still in the bleachers. And
right. And we're wired in such a way that we sort of externalize a lot of stuff too, often.
Yes, especially now.
Yeah. So there's a fear, there's a sort of a direction against introspection.
Yeah. And but it's crazy though, because we cherish ourselves at an all-time high, in a weird way.
But the narcissism is all about, I'm fine, the world's the problem.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's not good. It's not good.
It's not good.
It really, when you look, the self, your very being, yourself emerges in an interpersonal context with mom and dad. That's where it emerges. If you were raised by wolves from the age of 1 on, and you came out of the woods at age 15, you would not have a self. You would just be this acting, reacting, instinctive being that might have had some intellectual capacity, but you wouldn't have a sense of self.
Right.
And you also would not have consciousness the way we think of consciousness.
Really?
Consciousness probably also emerges from from a social interpersonal context. I mean, think about it.
Yeah, because so without that family environment, you wouldn't have, or without that
with others, without being reflected back. Things have to be co-created with others. That's how we build our self. It's how we build regulation of our emotions. That's why you sit with a therapist, is to exchange and co-create these experiences that build wiring in your brain that build the regulation. And with expanded experiences, you can have self-expanding, like Duncan Trussell style experiences, but there's a lot of interpersonal expanding of experience. In fact, I was talking to a dementia expert yesterday who told me that the leading protection against dementia is a rich social environment because it's so complex what we do as humans in social relating that it literally wires up our brain and prevents dementia. Yeah. It's it's more complicated than solving the Schrodinger equation in terms of the amount of brain that's used in your body.
What's funny is I spent years out here depressed, and one of the reasons I see in hindsight was because I wouldn't see other people. And when I saw other people, I knew I would see that they liked me. And that gave me oh, I'm okay. I'm not whatever these things are, these hauntings in my head. Right. The reflection that I get off this person is that I'm okay. Right. And then that started to live in me was this, and the more I took and just got by myself, the more depressed I got because I just didn't see that other people looked at me like, oh, he's a nice guy. I like that guy. He's okay.
Right. So you're left trying alone, which is not a good state for humans, trying to build a sense of yourself by yourself. Yeah. How can you do that? You need other people to do that.
Yeah. It's so sad, man. There's nothing sadder than just knowing that people out there just are just this. We find so many dudes calling this hit our hotline with issues,
right? Or alone.
Yeah, or alone. It's crazy. Let's hit a couple calls, Nick. We have a few more, Drew, and then we'll get you out of here. Sure. Thank you so much for coming in, man. Of course.
Ooh. Hey, Theo. This is Hannah in Texas. So my husband and I have been married for about 2 years now. And I have an issue called endometriosis, so we're experiencing infertility. And it's not obviously super concerning after only 2 years, but being a mom was always my dream. So, it has been real hard. My question is, I think I'm doing right as far as feeling my feelings right now because I'm generally happy. I'm in an amazing marriage, but
did you say how old she is?
I cry a little every day, and I kind of do it as therapy. When I look at babies, I cry. So I'll purposefully turn on
I get sort of upset when
just so I could get a good.
I get upset when women go, "I have endometriosis, therefore I'm infertile."
Right.
That's not true.
Right.
You're going to have fertility issues, and you need to get on it. But I'd like to know how old she is. She doesn't sound like she's 35. She sounds like she's 28.
20, yeah.
Yeah, and so get on it. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go do it.
Do it.
You're going to be fine, honey.
Take some action.
Get some fertility. See a fertility specialist. There's a ton of stuff to be done.
Is there?
Oh my God, yes. And the fact that she's sitting there feeling like that is that's anathema. It makes me upset. It's just not necessary.
Right. And also, I wonder, just looking at pictures and feeling sad about that stuff. I don't know if that even helps.
No. Take action. Get proactive. Do everything you can, and then If it turns out indeed you have some terminal fertility issues, start thinking about other things. There's adoptions, all kinds of stuff you can do. Go do it.
Do you think a baby that they make in like a tube or something like that is different?
Well, it depends what you mean by that. My kids are tube. We're technically tube babies.
They
right?
were?
That was what tube babies were. Was with the fertility treatments of the 90s. They make them in a dish and then they implant them.
Oh, they implant them though. So they're not growing it in a warehouse or
that
something.
That doesn't really happen.
It doesn't.
No. I mean, I'm sure somebody's done something like that, but not really.
Have you ever heard of anything like that?
I've seen for stuff like that, but not really like that.
Have they ever like busted somebody like the government or whatever, and they brought you in to think about it?
No, there's like some sort of laboratories, always just rows and rows of babies in jars.
Like things being made.
So I have a question for you. Speaking of jars, so if I had infinity powers, like I have infinite powers, and I could give you the perfect life, okay? I mean, literally whatever was perfect for you moment to moment, because I had infinite powers, I could adjust it. It's just infinity what I can do for you. No limit. Except for me to do that, I have to have you sign a piece of paper, and that paper is going to have me take your brain out of your skull and put it in your float in a vat. Your brain's just going to be floating in the vat. Now, you're not going to know you're the brain in the vat because you're going to be having the perfect life.
Right.
Whatever that is. It's going to be perfect at all times. Sign up.
But my brain's gone.
Your brain's in the vat.
Brain's in the vat.
And having the perfect life. Just floating there having the perfect life.
Wow.
And if not...
No.
Yeah. Why not?
Because...
forego the perfect existence.
Because I want to experience it.
Well, you're experiencing it because I have infinity powers. Right. I can make you feel like you're experiencing it. I mean, you are experiencing it as far as you know, but I think there's something in that I want to experience a thing. What is it you want to experience that you can't experience for
some of the tough parts, I guess?
I have infinity powers. I can do all that. I can do everything.
Anything can be good, bad, whatever.
Infinity.
I want control.
I give you control. I have infinite powers. There's one thing I can't do, though. There's by virtue of you being a brain in the vat, there's one and only one thing because of that circumstance that I can't do.
You can't be me?
I can't have you exist to other people anymore. You cease to exist to other people.
Wow.
You don't know that.
Right.
But you have to sign up to cease to exist. And most humans won't do that. That's how important other people are to us.
Wow.
We would forego the perfect existence. We don't know why we wouldn't sign up, but we all have this instinct like, I gotta sign up. It's because you leave the people you love. You won't exist to them. They'll obviously have their grief and whatever, but you really won't exist. And so even if your role in your perfect existence is to go save humanity, you can save humanity as the brain in the vat, and you will have done exactly nothing.
Wow. Because you won't exist. It's the same thing that scares. It's the same moment that used to scare me about dying all the time. It would be that moment where, fuck, I won't exist. I won't exist at all.
But at least in the brain in the vat, you'll think you exist.
Right.
And dying,
the brain in the vat sounds beautiful.
It's better than dying, I suppose. But
I mean, basically, I just want to be a server to Baskin Robbins, but we're shut down because of weather, and so I get everything. That's really my fucking super time.
That's what you'll be. Well, I imagine if anybody ever signed up for that, if there ever were such a thing, I wanted to write a script one time where I was thinking if we could, something goes wrong, I've got somebody as a brain in the vat, and something goes wrong, I have to go in and meet him in his brain in the vat land. And I just imagined he's just somebody just eating people, shitting on them, screwing. It'd be like Westworld. It'd be like, right.
Right.
I imagine that's what would happen.
Do you ever, have you ever been approached with like a scripted series?
Yeah, I'm writing some stuff.
Are you?
Yeah.
I could tell. For the first moment, I'd never seen that before, and I just saw it just now.
Yeah, it's hard to sell that stuff. It really is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Huh.
But I got a writing partner. He and I work really well together. We've written a couple things and not sold, but
that's cool.
It's fun. It's creative, yeah.
And does it have some of that Black Mirror type of vibe, or what is it like a little bit?
No, I insist on like really, exquisite accuracy in the human behavior side of it, and
Why?
Because I don't want to do television that's bullshit. I
Right.
want to do what's real. So
when you say bullshit, you mean helpful or not helpful? Is that what do you mean by that?
Well, the ideas I hope are helpful that we get into, but I don't want people believing a dramatic version of reality or a processed reality. I want them to see how people actually are.
Yeah.
And I think television has moved that way a lot. Like I made one about we called it Dr. Ed. Dr. Ed was a TV talk show host who had bipolar disorder and got manic. And in his manic state, the producers liked that. And so they did all kinds of shit to keep him in his manic state. And he has some crazy psychotic episodes and antics ensue. That was one of our scripts.
I like that.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of that one where the guy had a couple of like outbursts on television a long time ago.
Well, it's sort of like
but they didn't manage it though.
That's right. But it's sort of like the series, what was that famous film? Patty Chayefsky, I think, wrote it. Network.
Yeah.
Network.
Oh yeah.
Mad as hell. I'm not gonna take it
with
anymore.
Peter.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Peter, whatever his name was.
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah. What made you like? Because the more I listen to you, it seemed like you really want to help people. You know?
That's what that's.
Well, where did that come from? Kind of. You think?
Probably a combo of really loving my profession and that process of helping. In fact, almost being addicted to that.
Oh, really?
I would say I binge on that.
Is it-
Because I remember I used to have friends that they'd made a bunch of money and they're like, now I got to go do something. I'm like, dude, you're. Then I thought, oh, they've not done it. They have nothing to really make differences for other people.
Right.
And I thought, well, I got that part down. That part I got. But I binge on it. I do it too much.
And do you feel like you binge on it? Why? Because it makes you feel like.
I think I get a little manic with it. And I think, I don't know.
There must be some reward system even in your head, even if you're not conscious of it.
It's almost like any other addiction kind of thing. It's just
Right.
like, it feels good. So I do a little too much of it.
And so are there even moments where sometimes you want to tell somebody something or suggest something to them where it's like, are those ways that you kind of monitor that where you're like, no, they're not looking for advice or suggestions.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're not looking for.
Yes.
Because the downside of it, or not the downside, but one side effect of your profession and your ability to, that people are looking for you with diagnosis would be to be like a know-it-all. And not
Yes,
you don't
know-it-all.
seem like one to
No,
me.
know-it-all, or and I've run into this buzzsaw a little bit, helping people because I could see their damage and they're acting out to it, and you go offer and they do not want it sometimes.
Right.
They're like, hey, I'm fine. Why? They get very angry, very defensive. So
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way. But the other thing is my own therapy. I learned, when you're deep in therapy, you get expanded empathy.
And this is therapy that with people,
I
or
would go,
you go
well,
to a
both,
therapist?
to be fair, but I went to therapist for 11 years.
Wow. And do you go to EMDR therapy? Have you done that?
I did not, but I had had it been available at the time when I was really doing intensive therapy, I probably would have asked about it or been asked to be referred for it.
Yeah.
Because I think it really works. I have a fair bit of trauma stuff, but my trauma stuff, but for the grace of God, got worked through in the stuff we were doing.
And who do you feel like? I mean, these days, like when you feel like when you go to be cared for, like who do you go to when you need care? Like, what are things that make you feel like cared for?
My wife. I have a problem with that stuff too. I get squirrely a little bit when
Right.
somebody cares too much about me, and because I'm caring about other
Yeah,
people.
your wife seems extremely caring about you.
she cares. My kids care.
Yeah, but she'll even say stuff like, because I know Susan. She's like will help organize and and just some of the stuff that she said, it was just extremely caring, and I was like, oh, that's that's cool. It must be nice to have somebody in your corner like that. That's nice. Anything else, Nick? Oh, we got
What
one
does
right
this
here.
guy want?
This is
Yeah, what is this guy?
Look at this guy. I feel like he's looking down on me from some sort of like portal.
It is. Look, this is the next. This is the next. This is the future.
No, the way he's looking, he's like literally looking down. It's like,
Yeah, he looks like Popeye was his dad, and he never even knew Popeye was his dad.
And this is a fan line question submitted through the LiveRaise app, which people can now do.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's up, Theo? I got a question for Dr. Drew. With all the new information coming out about marijuana, does Dr. Drew think that we should remove it off the Schedule 1
oh yeah, of course.
scheduling for federal drugs? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sort of I think that whole Schedule 1 is laughable, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that we as physicians can't do research on a molecule because it's evil.
Right.
That's the most bizarre.
That's witchcraft almost. It's what it sounds
makes
like.
me so angry.
Yeah.
I'm working on some documentaries on hallucinogens to use them therapeutically and things like that because there will be some utility to these chemicals. There's no such thing as a good drug and a bad drug.
Right.
There's just these chemicals. They have effects on the human brain. Some are good, some are bad. We need to learn how to harness it and recommend it, and that's that.
That's that.
The whole idea of Schedule 1 to me is just freaking bizarre.
And now, what about this? Like, I struggle with this. So I'm sober 2 years, right, in July. And I start to wonder about using, mushrooms, those types of things,
Yeah.
psychedelics, because I do remember times where it made me just feel a little bit like almost like somebody had washed my paintbrushes a little bit or something like that.
It's highly risky. In your first 5 years, you really got to listen to your sponsor, right?
Yeah.
So bounce it off your sponsor.
Right, 100%. Yeah, I'm not asking you for direction, but I'm asking you
But just listen.
Okay.
And there may be some utility to it, right?
Right.
We don't know. I mean, somebody may one day be able to go, yeah, no, the psilocybins, that's a little too rewarding. It might trigger you. And I don't really know your history,
Right.
the substance and stuff, but ayahuasca, on the other hand, that might reduce some of your craving for this and that, and maybe you can try that. We don't have that yet. We can't do that yet. That's dangerous at this point. One day we may. We will. I'm sure we will.
Right.
Now we can't do that. So you want to do the least harm and put yourself at the least risk, but you want some benefit.
Right.
So I think at least the first 5 years you ought to try to be as pristine as possible, because things change a lot in those first 5 years. And a lot of it is because of brain healing.
Right.
And you don't want to mess with that in any way if you can. That would be my just basic brush.
No, I love that. That answer is exactly a little bit what I need, because part of me worries that, well, say if I gave myself that out, right, and I try it for whatever reason, that then I'm going to give myself another out.
Yeah, it's a slope. It's
Right.
like you're chipping. You're chipping at that point. And look, you're doing all the right stuff. You're going to therapy and different programs and stuff. That will give you. It's a slower process, but that will get you where you want to go. I think you behind this really is not even your addiction. It's just your desire to move forward.
Yeah.
Like I want my paintbrushes washed. I want to feel good. I want to feel hard work. Do hard work. It'll pay off more.
Do hard work.
Yeah, with no risk that way.
Right. Yeah, no risk. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good answer, man. And I think it's an answer that a lot of people can probably use, because that's a thing that's on a lot of sober guys' minds right now, because it's amped up in so many worlds.
I know. And I've seen sober guys use it in therapy. I've seen them use it in sort of spiritual stuff. Those guys are long-term sober in deep therapy in other ways. And
Right.
your sobriety changes a lot at 10 years, and especially if you're doing, there's something called there's not drinking and getting into recovery, and then there's complete recovery, right?
Right.
There's really restoring mental health and spiritual awareness. And I think you feel like you're questing for all that, which I think is great, because it will pay dividends. I guarantee it. But it's slow and it takes time, and you got to really work at it.
Yeah, and I just don't want to get into those pitfalls of like going for the easy thing, because there's so much temptation.
Yeah, you're still, believe it or not, you're a newbie. I mean, you're doing great, but you're a newbie.
Yeah, I like that.
I know that seems crazy at 2 years, but I applaud 2 years. But the people that I only can tell you from the perspective of my patients always go, oh yeah, until I hit 5. Oh man, those first 5, I didn't realize I was still really rapidly changing.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. And you know what? I just never thought that I could change either, I thought I was sentenced to whoever I was, and I wasn't a bad person or anything, but I just
nobody is completely. I mean, we're sort of sentenced to our personality in a weird way.
Yes.
That doesn't change very much. And I did a lot of therapy, and I thought my personality had changed in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a Rorschach test with a friend of mine just because I was interested. And there was all my old bullshit personality stuff in the Rorschach test. And I was like, God, I thought that was all gone.
Wow.
And I realized it's all there, but it's sort of integrated into me, and it doesn't bother me, and it doesn't do anything.
It's like hieroglyphics. It's not wallpaper. It's like hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
It's still in the background a little.
It's there. It just doesn't create behavior, and doesn't create feelings. It just sort of, that's the basic personality structure, and that's okay.
It's not driving you anymore.
Not driving.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Not motivating, not driving.
Yeah, I start to feel for the first time in my life like some of my repeat thought process and stuff are in the back seat a little bit.
Good.
Or at least they're shotgun.
That's good.
Whereas before I was in the back and I'm like, can this Uber driver even hear me?
Am I here?
Jesus. Dr. Drew, thanks for coming and joining us so much.
My privilege as always. I love talking to you, and anytime, whatever you're doing.
You too,
count me
man.
in.
And we'll put everything that's going on with you at the front of the episode.
Okay. Great.
And just thank you so much for. I love it. I believe that you want to help people, and it's cool, man.
I do, whenever I get my ass in a sling for being I think I take too much risk in some of the stuff I do on media, because I always wonder, how do I get in these shitstorms where I'm not intending anything, but I've been looking at that a lot lately. I talked to a therapist friend of mine last night, and we decided maybe I take too much risk, and the risk gets me or something.
But the risk is also what makes you available to people to hear.
The risk is what gets me the access, because I risk hanging out with comedians. I risk going places that a physician maybe shouldn't go.
Yeah.
That's always what I've done because I feel like, well, that's where people are that need the help.
Yeah.
They're not- they're-
100%.
And or need not even I wouldn't even call it help, but need the input.
Yeah.
And so I got to go there. And as I do that, maybe I end up taking more risk and more risk than I should or something. It's something about that. And the fact that I hang out with comedians and I love Duncan Trussell and people like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the anti-social, but I sure hang out with those guys.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's not me at all, but I sure am intrigued by it. I like hanging out with them and I enjoy them.
But they're like books. People are like some people especially are like a unique book and you're like, man, it would be silly not to get some of this research over here.
Well, not even research. It's just richness.
Yes.
People are... I don't
especially
judge.
a guy like Duncan.
Oh my God.
He's a unique guy. I mean, it's why people listen to guys like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is a unique man. I used to think he was like kind of a meathead kind of guy. You know, I had this own perception in my head and I had no clue. And dude, he's done
thinking. He is thinking
all
the time.
He is he
hyper aware.
Yes. And he wants to be. He shows up for every second of his life, you know, and he's genuinely curious. And it's fascinating, man. And it just, and you want to be around people like that. You want, because then you start to book, you get a little bit of that.
That's right. We affect each other. You take nothing else away from this conversation.
Yeah.
That's the theme here.
Yeah.
The brain in the vat, the therapy, everything. It's all about we affect each other.
We affect each other. That's it. We're affected. Thank you so much, Drew.
All right, guys.
Now I'm just floating on the breeze, and I feel I'm falling like these leaves. I must be cornerstone. Oh, but when I reach that ground, I'll share this peace of mind I found. I can feel it in my bones, but it's gonna take a little time for me to set that parking brake and let myself unwind. Shine.